afternoon and good evening. Welcome back to Heat 7 of the Club 100 Heavyweight Sprints. We go straight into Heat 1 where we're starting 9th. This will be my back start for the day, and we got some reasonably good grids. The last couple of rounds we've had an average right towards the top end of the available grid slots. Today we've got one right at the bottom, which we need to try and make the most of. But coming through the first chicane, we've got two drivers trying to go up our inside here, and we're going to get squeezed the inside, not able to use all the track on the exit, and that's going to stop me from getting a particularly good drive off the corner and losing another two positions there. So not a particularly good start to this first heat, especially as it's the back start. We end up losing places and end up filtering in behind Adam Britton going in towards this quite tricky, quick horseshoe chicane where you want to carry as much speed as possible through it, but the back did have a tendency to get a little bit loose and slidey, and that would affect you all the way down this main straight into a very quick double right-hander. Can gain quite a bit of time through there if you committed to the corners. You can see I was able to do there, but coming off it, ended up losing some cartlets to the carts in front, and then again off this first chicane, didn't take it particularly badly, but we lose ground to the carts in front, and this would be a bit of a running theme through this first heat where Lydd being a circuit where the benefits of some carts and the deficits of the others are kind of magnified a little bit. I definitely felt like I was a bit of a deficit in this one, and it was going to be a hard race to try and make progress in, as we've got two side by side going through the horseshoe, which is going to slow them both down. Adam Britton able to get up the inside, making it 3 wide going into the final double right hander, and 3 into 1 doesn't go. Driver on the outside ends up turning in, and maybe he didn't realise that there were two carts in front, or inside rather, and thought it was just the one, and turned in thinking that would be the case. But Yusuf there, who's in the middle, had nowhere to go, and it meant that the driver on the outside kind of pitched himself into that spin and ended up losing a couple of laps from that. It takes a long time to get out of those bar traps on the outside, but as we skip forward a little bit, we can see we're still just about hanging on to this group in front, but it was really only because they were fighting so hard during the course of this race. As we have a little think about going down the inside of Yusuf going into the long horseshoe chicane, but nothing happening, and then the carts in front getting a bit too fighty, and that takes all three of them out, and that could have been really, really nasty going through there. Luckily, they came off at such an angle that they didn't go full speed at a 90 degree into that tyre barrier, but yeah, it could have been really nasty. As we go into heat number 2, starting the front row this time on second, trying to get a good jump but not able to time it particularly well. Adam Britton and Adam Wright able to get a slightly better jump than me. Adam's able to hold it on the outside, and a little bit of a bump, but trying to give him as much space as we can and slotting into third. And as we come around the second chicane here, the yellow flags come out, and that'll be a full cause caution because there'd been an accident at the first chicane, meaning we got to see old JV with his excellent air blower skills getting that all ready for us. But as we come around the last corner after a couple of laps of full course yellow, flags go green, get a good jump right onto the back of Adam Wright going into this first chicane. Need to take plenty of curb on the left hand side, able to do that, and you can see here we're not losing anywhere near as much ground coming out that chicane as we were in the first heat. And Adam Britton, who's currently leading this race, looking over his shoulder already, possibly feeling like he's going to have to be defending all the way through this the remainder of the race. And Adam's able to get quite a good launch on this corner. We're tucked up right behind him, giving a little bump to help him to see if we can also help following through. They end up going too wide, bit of a tap there from Adam Britton on the inside, and that would mean that he's got a compromised line going through the flick right at the end of that chicane, and I'm able to capitalise and follow Adam through up into second place. Mikey Nichols now also looking to try and get through on Adam Britton. We come across the line here, and we're thinking now, where can we get Adam? We know he's quick. We've had a battle here the year previously, and it's going to be a case of what can we do to get past and get into the lead of this race. Coming towards the last couple of laps now, and you can see Adam takes a little bit too much curb, not able to get the kart rotated on that second left-hand part of the chicane. He's going into defensive mode now, trying to keep me behind. Going into this quite quick hairpin at the bottom of the circuit, takes a compromised line going in to try and defend, and that allows me to get a nice wider entry, pull it And you can see here Adam just pointing me through, not wanting to try and fight it too hard, lest the situation be as it was a few laps ago with him and Adam Britton. And here I'm trying to sort of lull him into a bit of let's try and pull away from the pack behind, hoping that he hadn't sort of clocked the fact that we were coming on to like the last couple of laps. But Adam is far too wily to fall for something like that, and in hindsight I probably should have just defended going into the last two corners, because realistically I think I had the pace for this last lap to keep him behind. I thought I'd try it, and it didn't really work. So lesson learned for next time: don't try and play mind games with Adam Wright. Following through into the long chicane, trying to make sure we get the best exit possible, not letting the rear end slip out, and just didn't quite get the line through that kink right. Not close enough to Adam to really put him in a position to be fully compromised going to the last couple of corners. And even though we were able to take a little bit more speed through, that would be a win for Adam, second place for us, and an okay result after the rather dreadful first heat. As we move on to heat number 3, starting 5th. All of our grid starts being on the pole side of the grid, which reasonable, although middle of the pack here was a little bit nervy, as we've seen quite a few drivers being put into the bark through the chicane. But we get a pretty good drive here. Mikey, kind of like us in the first race, not able to get the timing quite right, and we slot up into 3rd coming through the first chicane. And this was a bit of a death heat. We had lots and lots of very, very quick C1s and some very quick C2s in this heat, and it meant that you'd have to be absolutely on it the entire race to try and make sure that you're giving yourself the best position at the end. We've got Kurt Holmes here throwing it up the inside, going into the horseshoe. Had a really good drive going into that section of the circuit, and kind of like how Adam didn't fight it too hard because it would just slow me down tremendously. But it has compromised me a little bit. I ended up getting a little bit loose going through the chicane. You can see Mikey Nichols there able to get a better run onto the straight than I was, and slots it up. So we're back down into P5, our starting position, having got up into P3 on the first lap. Trying to follow Mikey now because we know he's got the pace, and we can see Kurt already pulling away from Mo, so potentially Mo feeling like he hasn't quite got the pace in this one, and you can see that from the way that he's driving, going defensive quite early on, and that's not necessarily a good sign in sprint racing. If you've got someone going defensive early, you need to try and clear them as quickly as possible. And you saw Mikey there tapping the back of his helmet, telling me that I should try and get on him and help him through. Looking left, looking right, nowhere to really go. Mo did a good job of putting his car in the middle of the track, but in doing a good job defending, you can see Kurt and the driver in front, which I think is Miguel. Sorry if it's not. They're just starting to clear away, and then I make a mistake, really stupid mistake, just pushing a little bit too hard into the second chicane. That will compromise me through, and it just gives Anwar all the invitation he needs to throw it up the inside. And that means that Adam as well, it's just all going wrong at the moment. And at this point I was like, no, I need to try and stop the bleeding, but as you can see, in doing that, that's compromised me going through the horseshoe. Adam gets the help from my Bodner behind to try and push him through. I'm able to just about hold it round the outside, and that would put me on the outside going to the first corner, but Mike sort of yields that, and I end up taking the position into the first chicane, slotting in behind Adam Wright. But it's not been a good first few laps, and again you can see running wide through the horseshoe chicane, just not able to really keep the back end of the car in check. As Mikey gets up the inside of Mo, that opens the door for Anwar and for Adam, and I'm not quite close enough to be able to follow Adam going into the first chicane. Mo not particularly happy, but even though the move was maybe forceful from Mikey, he was alongside, and you got to be careful when someone's on the inside of you, squeezing them through a tight corner like that one. And again, with the karts in front starting to pull away from Mo, really trying to get past as quick as possible, in as fair a way as possible, get in behind him. Look, he's defending there, go back to the outside, and that defending means he's going to run wide, throw it up the inside with that space, but in getting one position we end up losing two. And yeah, nothing seemed to be going right for me at the moment in this heat 3. Odd-numbered heats, not positive for me at the moment. And that allows Mike Bodner and I think Alexander Lamin through. So yeah, very much one step forward, 2 steps back, as we are able to get back in and back through on Alexander Lamin going into that bottom chicane. Left a little bit too much space, and I was able to take advantage of it. Now, following Mike Bodner, if we can try and get this position back, that's probably the best that we're going to be able to do in this heat. As you can see, the drivers in front have kind of checked out with the amount of time that we have. Going towards the first chicane, looking to try and carry as much speed as possible and get caught out there. And Mike sort of slowing it down earlier than I thought he was going to do, and I ended up running into the back of him, and that was completely on me. Even though Mike maybe did slow it down earlier than I thought, it should have been on me to avoid that collision, and I ended up locking the brakes going into the first chicane, having been taken by surprise and going to the back of Mike. So made sure to apologise to Mike very quickly after the end of this race, as that was on me to avoid that contact, which I was unable to do so. In recovering, able to get back up the inside of Alexander Lamin going into the final 2 corners, but that would be a P7 finish. So we've had not the best heats through this sprint day at Lydd, and that put us 16th on the A final grid. And with this being very much a circuit where you need a good bit of machinery underneath you to move forward, I think I possibly should have changed kart in the start of this one. It didn't feel like it had maybe quite enough, and that would be the case as we go forward. But not to give too much away too early, but yeah, it felt very stagnant, this race. Trying to get as much as we can through the first couple of corners, first lap. See Adam Britton there going for an aggressive move, but it ended up slowing him down, and we're able to sort of get it back, and we slot ourselves back into 14th place this would be. So we gained a couple off the start, and with the A final being as it is, obviously you've got everyone kind of sorted out in pace order. It's going to be very, very hard to try and progress your way up the grid. And you see there Alexander Lamin going for a move on Dan Grocott, but with a bit of contact, I think he decided that wasn't a particularly fair one and tried to tug behind, but that ended up compromising us, and weren't able to get the best of runs moving forward. Skipping ahead, we've got Adam Britton here looking to try and come inside, but we squeeze him as tight as we feel we can, to the point where he has to back out and realise that if he kept going, he wasn't going to make the corner. And again, you can see there just how much time you lose through defending, especially on a track like this where you need to try and keep the highest average speed possible. Jumping forward again, as I said, very stagnant through this A final. We can see Alex Pritchard ahead in the grey suit, a very quick C1 driver, finding it difficult to progress at this stage in the race, which is kind of telling as well. And we end up getting helped through the exit of that chicane, to the point where I had absolutely no ability to turn the car, and end up cutting over the grass to try and avoid being put into a spin, and just sort of telling the guys behind, like, come on, let's calm it down. There's no need to sort of try and ram people off the exit of corners. And yeah, difficult race this one, as you can see. Again, I had felt the need to sort of go a little bit defensive going down the main straight, having not got the best of runs through the long horseshoe chicane. We are, however, right behind the driver in front, and they missed the curb on the left-hand side, which is critical for the speed through. And we tried to get our momentum to maintain, and end up sort of a little bit of a bump, tried to go left, and in the absolute melee that ends up happening, we end up forced wide onto the grass on the left-hand side, and that allows an absolute torrent of karts to go up the inside, going to the next chicane. So just luck not going our way. I wasn't able to really stay behind the kart in front going through that chicane. I had to try and keep the momentum, and had I not been sort of compromised as much as I was, maybe could have held it around the outside. But yeah, things just seem to be going against me in this one, and realistically, just need to do better at qualifying in these heats. But we've got a yellow flag at this point going into the second chicane. You can see here Joe Holmes, who was second going onto this lap, has found his way onto the grass and had to recover. And it would turn out there was a racing incident between the group of them that were racing at the front, and a collision that unfortunately saw Joe facing the wrong way and absolutely cascading down the field. And that would pretty much be it. We end up finishing P15 in this one. A tough day, and it's making life very hard going into this final leg of the championship to try and maintain a decent finishing position. If we can try and get ourselves back up to 7th or 6th, we're going to have some really good results heading forward. But positive thoughts going forward into the next round at Llandau in South Wales, and that one will hopefully give us some better results. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, as always, have a good one.